So here are the 8 secrets to becoming a great leader in your tradie or your service-based business.
Stay out of my job.
Phil's the CEO. I'm the CEO, you're the COO. Let's get that right.
Because they're probably bored.
Yeah.
Sorry.
A good team with a great player. Michael Jackson. Come on. Michael Jordan.
I'm sure he would have been great on the court.
He would have. He had some moves anyway.
So what happens if you don't master the principles of leadership?
And Phil has my backside. That doesn't sound so good.
Yeah, that didn't sound too good, but
I mean, you can have it if you want it. I'd do that for you, mate, if it was really necessary.
There's just not much of it there, you know. I need a little bit more, like.
Growing your trade or service-based business is a function of your ability as a business leader. Yet leadership is not something we're taught, and frankly, most of us make it up as we go, with varying degrees of success. Tune into today's podcast where we outline 8 secrets to leadership that will help you grow your business in a way that's fun for you and your team. Hi there, I'm your host, Tony Fraser-Jones, host of the Profitable Tradie podcast. I almost got that out there for Profitable Tradie. Thank you, Phil, for helping me out there. Always got my back.
You're right,
today's episode is about leadership, and you're a champion, mate. Always help me with my, fair to muddling leadership as well, so I appreciate that. Phil's the CEO. I'm the CEO, you're the COO. Let's get that right. Chain of command is important.
Hey, if we both muddle in different areas, then I think
we might be all right.
Yeah.
As long as we're not muddling in the same area, we'll be fine.
Right.
So, man, what are we talking about today?
Well, basically, we're talking about how to be a good boss. Well, I mean, actually, probably more than that. We're talking about how to be a good boss who can grow a profitable business, because they might not actually be the same thing, right? And we've coached thousands of tradie and service business owners, and there's no doubt that the quality of leadership from the business owner has a huge impact on the success and growth of the business. So they say a fish rots from the head first, and this definitely is true if the business has a poor leader, right?
Oh yes, the fish definitely rots from the head, and we see it. We see it in businesses that come and talk to us, and the reverse is true as well. We can definitely see the things that the top business leaders have. Now, these are the people who have large, profitable businesses, and they also have a great lifestyle.
That's right.
And 100%, I said it again.
There we go.
They do things differently for sure.
That's right. They definitely do. Yeah. So we're going to learn how to do those things, I guess.
We are.
Yeah. Should be fun. And I actually have a story this time about how to be a good leader.
We talked about this before, and we said, I'll tell the story. Now you're taking it. Where you go,
Well,
mate?
no, you should take it.
No,
because
you
I think
take
you
it.
know the story I'm going to tell. It's the one about the Bulls.
Ah.
Yeah. Let's see if you knew which story it was.
Okay, you chip in.
All right.
And if I get it
See
wrong.
if you get any details wrong.
Yeah. Well, Chicago Bulls, obviously in the 90s, were an incredible team.
That's right.
I was growing up in the 90s, used to love watching Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and all the other characters, Rodman, and who was that other hard man they had?
Well, they had a few, bro. Like, my favorite was Steve Kerr. That's the one that you were
Steve
talking about earlier.
Yeah. And obviously, if you've watched The Last Dance, you'll know a lot about this. But in 91, I think the Bulls won. And good team, but really they were a good team with a great player. Michael Jackson. Come on. Michael Jordan.
Well, I'm sure he would have been great on the court.
He would have. He had some moves anyway.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan was incredible. It was basically good team, pass the ball to Michael, and he'll score. And they won. But the thing is, Phil Jackson, who's the coach, really worked on building the team, and the team that they had in '97 was an incredible team.
That's right.
Because they'd learnt to actually work as a team, and they would actually, Michael would pass the ball, or he'd pass the ball, kick the ball out to Steve Kerr, who'd drop threes in very important games and pressure situations, which just made them a far more formidable team.
Yeah,
and it's a team game, and sometimes you had to sacrifice yourself. Michael Jordan had 3 players pressing him, and that leaves a lot of other people open.
That's right.
So, if you want to win at a higher level, I guess the message is you need a great team, and leadership and intention around that is a really big part of it.
Yeah, and I suppose the real key here is that, the Bulls still had a leader in '97. The difference is the leader actually learned to be a leader and not just a star. Yep. And I think that's the key is, as you say, it's sacrificing your own input sometimes and learning how to use your team around you. And I think that's really the key in this story. So.
Yeah, it's huge. So it's about building the team, letting other people shine, because that builds the strength of the whole team.
That's it. Hey, look, you knew the story.
I did all right.
Too easy. Mate, some problems if we don't do this though, right?
Yeah, if you don't learn the secrets of leadership and you're not good at it, I think the first thing is you're going to get really busy and overwhelmed as everything really has to go through you as a business owner. And you might be experiencing this already. It's like you feel like you've got to fix every problem. Every time there's an issue comes up or an invoice needs to be sorted out, problem out in the field, whatever it is, employee problem, you're the go-to guy or girl. And that's really exhausting. Now, it's like stress. We can all hold up a cup of water out at arm's length for a minute, but if you try to hold that for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a few hours, you can't do it. You break. And you might be Superman or Superwoman, and you can do that for a little while, weeks, months, maybe even some of you years, but eventually you'll break.
That's right.
So that's that you just get overwhelmed. You'll get frustrated with your team as well, as they don't perform and they don't show the initiative you want them to because you don't let them.
Yeah, that's right.
They got no opportunity. Because
if you never take the chains off, the beast can't be a beast, right?
Well, if you're the one taking all the shots, when it's their turn to take a shot,
they don't know how.
They don't know how, or they shank it because they're just stressed. They don't have the experience,
or they just freeze like a deer in the headlights because they're like, "Why'd you give it to me? Why'd you let me do it?" That's right.
And I think the next thing is, which you may not realize, is you actually struggle to hire and retain the best employees because your culture is not a performance culture for your team, and good employees get sick of that. They want to shine. They want responsibility. And lastly, your business actually can't grow, and you don't really understand why. You're like, I'm working hard. I'm doing the yards. I'm a machine.
That's right.
But you're not building a machine.
Well, it's only so hard that you can chop at that tree before you have to sharpen that axe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's definitely some issues if you don't get on top of this leadership piece.
Yeah, but if we get it right, a lot to gain.
It's magic. First thing is you'll learn to delegate, and you'll learn how to build a strong team around you so you can actually help you get the stuff done, but you can also grow a business. So that's huge. You'll be able to create a great lifestyle because you've got a team who's stepped up, who have the capability, who have the experience. You can take holidays and vacations. You can go and watch and coach Little League or football or whatever you want to do because you've got some time and flexibility.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is huge because culture is huge for hiring people. And the biggest part of culture is the leadership you provide. So you'll attract and retain the best talent, which makes life and business way more fun. Like business is way more fun when you've got great people to work with.
That's right. And nobody wants to follow a bad leader. So if you're a good leader, you actually attract rather than repel. So.
And if you're a bad leader, people just don't follow you. They vote with their feet.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is walking out the door. And the last thing is you'll actually achieve way more in your business than you ever thought possible. That's right. Because you're continually enabling other people to step up, which allows you to step up as well. And you do things in your business you didn't even believe were possible.
Yeah. Well, you're really at that point, you've mastered that concept of leverage, right?
So that's right. And leadership is about leverage.
That's it. So a lot to gain. Well, how do we do it? Let's get into these principles.
Yeah, well, there's 8 principles here. And I think some are like, if you're listening, you'll be like, oh, that's kind of obvious. And it is, but that doesn't make it not true. And it doesn't mean you're necessarily doing it because often the obvious is the hardest to do. Well,
sometimes you need to do a mix of the obvious and the spectacular, right? I remember that quote from Road Less Stupid,
Good book.
It's like, pray to Allah, but still tie up your camel.
Tie up your camel, yeah.
So it's like, dude, you got to do the basics and the spectacular. You can't just do one or the other. If you're just basic, you're boring. If you're just spectacular, you definitely have some holes. So you have to do both. And if you think any of this is obvious, what I'd challenge you to do is think, okay, cool, but are you doing it exceptionally well and consistently? Because if it's that obvious, you should be a master at it, right?
Well, and that's the thing. Great sports people actually just do the basics really well. They master the basics and always go back to the basics.
That's it.
I've got to say something else. I'm always impressed with your recall of stories and quotes, pithy little stories. Like
I'll tell you a secret. It's just because I write them down on a little notebook. And I just read them every now and then. And then the other thing is I get massive repetition because in all coaching calls, then it always will feel to somebody probably like I pulled it out of nowhere, but they won't realize I've used it 6 times this week. So
right.
It's easy to remember, isn't it?
Very cunning. I like it. Yeah. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Well,
takes a
I'm
lot
glad you're impressed.
Takes a lot to impress me, mate.
You're welcome.
Anyway.
You're a little thrill for the day.
So some of these will be obvious. Some are really counterintuitive to what you'd think. And that's okay because most people actually aren't great leaders, and the conventional wisdom, if you like, around this stuff is often actually wrong.
Yeah.
Most people do things one way, which is why they're not successful. They probably need to do them the other.
That's it.
Okay.
All right. Well, get into it.
Get into it.
Yeah. Let's start this list.
First one is that there is an inverse relationship between growth and control.
Yeah.
So what that means is, if you put it another way, if you want to control everything in your business, it's going to be very difficult to grow.
That's it.
So more growth you want, you're going to have a little bit less control. If you want to control everything, it's very difficult to grow because you become like a bottleneck. If you think of a bottle, it'll only pour as fast as the hole will let you. You're that hole, and if everything's got to go through you, it's tough. There's only a certain amount that you can do.
Well, if you think about it, the problem with a growing business is that often there's not that many more different tasks that are getting added. You just have such a different scale of the amount of those tasks that are happening. So, for example, like when you're early on in your business growth, and it's just you and maybe one or two guys, and you're doing the invoicing, you're doing the pricing, you're doing the scheduling, you're doing all of the admin behind, you're doing all the customer service, you're doing all the sales, you're probably on the tools, you're doing everything. You're probably chief bottle washer too at this point.
Yep.
The problem is that you get a little bit bigger, up to 5-6 guys, and there's just that many more bottles to wash, figuratively, right? There's that many more invoices to do. There's that many more, jobs to schedule. There's that much more pricing that needs to go out in the first place. There's that much more sales, everything, right? And then you get to 10 guys, and then 20, and then 50, and then 100. And suddenly the point is it's just like along the way, you just have to keep dropping tasks and delegating them to other people or maybe multiple other people because it's the sheer volume. And there's definitely new things that you add to your plate for sure, but it's less about the new things and it's more about the volume because you'll just become a bottleneck again and again and again. And at that point, you must pass the ball.
Yeah, and this is scary, and it's something that you may not see as a business owner. You may not realize how much your need to control is stifling growth because you actually don't see the impacts of it. You don't really see the missed opportunities.
Yeah.
The prices that you didn't do. That's the clients, the new clients you didn't go and see. The people you didn't talk to about working for you because you were having to do all the stuff that actually someone else could do.
That's it.
And if you think about it, you might be, your revenue in your business might be, let's say it's $1 million. So you're kind of established. You're a small business, but you're kind of established. If you want to get to a $10 million business, maybe you check every invoice in your $1 million business, which I think is something you want to stop doing. But I can tell you for sure, you can't do it in a $10 million business. You'll never get there if that's what you need to do. It's just not possible.
No.
It is not possible.
That's right.
You probably have 2 or 3 people looking at invoices. And here's another thing. Excess control drives good employees crazy.
100%.
It actually stops them learning and making decisions if you're always having to check stuff and be in control of it. Yep. So you need to flip that on its head and figure out how we can give them control and us take a step back. That doesn't mean we let the business get out of control, but it's an inverse relationship. Obviously, no control is terrible, but too much control is just as bad.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not easy to do. Like, I get that. Like, people are going to be letting go of something. I need to know what's happening. If I'm not checking all the invoices, what if the GP's wrong? I'm like, that's why you have KPIs. That's why you have, checks in place, and it's why you have transparency and meetings and hire the right people. Like, there's so much that goes into this to help you still be able to keep a finger on the pulse without having to do every little thing or cast your eyes on every little thing.
It's really simple. Inverse relationship between growth and control.
Yep.
You want growth, you can't control everything.
That's it.
Simple as that.
You want to control everything, you can't have the growth.
That's right.
All right. Point number 2. Let's go.
Let go of your ego.
Yeah.
This is huge. You've got to let your team shine. You do not have to be the best at everything. In fact, it's great if you are not the best at everything. And an example might be maybe you've managed projects yourself as your business is growing for your key clients, and they've really liked you and you've enjoyed working with them and you've got a sense of satisfaction from the good project, but you employ a great project manager. Maybe his name's Phil. He's a really good guy.
It's probably a swell fellow.
Yeah, big shoulders, strong guy, handsome beard, all that sort of stuff. And you get some feedback from the clients. They're like, this Phil's incredible. And you get the feeling that they actually prefer working with Phil than you do, than you.
Don't take it too personally, mate.
Yeah, I'm trying not to. Yeah. That's an amazing thing. If that happens to you in your business, you are winning.
Well,
that is not something to worry about.
It goes a level further than that, actually, because then you got to push that down. You want the next level of growth, and figurative Phil needs to also learn that people might like figurative Cam more than him. And at this point, figurative Tony and figurative Phil are both not the favourite.
Yeah, we're crying together.
And we go make a podcast and make ourselves feel better.
That's right.
And who knows?
So you've really got to let other team members shine. You've got to elevate them so that and you're not worried about that. Because if you need to be the go-to person and you get all your jollies and sense of self out of that, it's going to be very hard for you to let other people shine.
That's right. And I mean, if you look at it again, like secret number 1, it's like, do you want growth or do you want control? Secret number 2, do you want growth or do you want to be a star? You kind of can't have both. So,
well, and this is the thing. The great thing about capitalism is if your employees are winning, you as a boss are winning.
Yeah, you kind of
Because-
remain the star,
yeah.
even though technically you shouldn't be.
Well, the money flows uphill in capitalism as well as downhill,
That's right.
which is great, right?
It's awesome. That's why we like being capitalists.
There we go. Secret number
Right,
2 locked
secret,
away.
Secret number 3. What do we got?
This is an important one. You got to play to your strengths.
Yeah.
So, and this has taken me a long time to realize, and I've got to thank you for helping me with this as well, mate. It's your business, and you can choose the role that you want to play in it. You know, you can create your own game.
Yeah.
There's no rule that says you have to do the pricing and the estimating in your business. There's no rule that says you have to manage the projects. There's no rule that says you have to do the sales. It's all up for grabs.
That's it.
And you should do what you want to do based on what you like and what you're good at.
Yeah.
And like a personal experience here is I did a wealth dynamics test, which tells you about your best sort of entrepreneurial profile. I did it a few years ago. And I'm a creator profile, which means I have lots of ideas. My brain doesn't shut down, which is great, but it's absolute pain in the backside at night sometimes. But, you know, that's another whole story. We'll get into that.
Yep.
But very, very intuitive, see patterns, lots of ideas. Some of them are bollocks, but some of them are quite good. And I looked at you know, this profile, and it said, what are the things that really drain energy from me? And one of them was, you know, having to implement projects really hard out. And another one was being in team meetings with team members all day.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing. Both of those things.
That was your whole job.
It was my whole job.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I love team. I'm actually, don't want to sound like a tosser, but I'm actually really good at team, at creating culture and vibe and coaching people. But I'm not so good at sitting down having meetings all day. It makes me feel claustrophobic. I just feel hemmed in.
Yeah.
Whereas you're different. Your profile is different.
Yeah.
And you're good at those things.
I'd do meetings all day. It's my
And
favourite
you're great.
thing.
You're great at implementing things as well. So, you know, we've created a situation where I can do what I'm good at, and Phil has my backside. That doesn't sound
Yeah,
so
that
good.
didn't
does
sound
it?
too good, but
I mean, you can
but
have
I
it if
think-
you
I think
want
we
it.
get the point.
I'd do that for you, mate, if it was really necessary.
There's just not much of it there, you know. I need a little bit more, like.
You prefer a bit more meat on the bone?
That's right. You know.
This is going off base.
back to
I
topic.
apologise to everyone listening.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of don't. It's fun doing it, but you know, if anyone's offended,
Yeah.
there you go. But you can create your own race course, your own set of rules about how your business is. Now, if you love doing sales, do it. If you don't, get someone else to do it.
Totally.
Create something that works for you, and then complement the people around you. Because if you're a first class you'll have a great business. If you're a second class
Someone
it's
else.
not good. I think someone said to me once, you know, if you're an orange, be a first rate orange. Don't try and be a second rate apple.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
No, not at all.
So that's really important. That's number 3.
Yep.
Number 4.
Number 4. Let's do it.
Your team should make decisions and take actions that make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. This is always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean we want them to do stuff that annoys us and is stupid. What it means is that they are making decisions and learning and pushing the boundaries, not going way over the boundaries, but they're making decisions that you're like, oh, I feel slightly uncomfortable about that. What are they doing? Where's it heading? What did they spend that money on?
Yeah, well, a lot of the time the discomfort actually just comes from that lack of control. So if we think about point number 1, where you can't have growth and control, past a certain point, the big thing is that in this case, that lack of control should make you feel uncomfortable. So if you're not feeling uncomfortable with the decisions that the team are making, then it's probably because you have too much control. So you might have thought you ticked box number 1, but you actually haven't, which is why you don't feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And sure, it'll get to a point where you don't feel uncomfortable because you trust the person's ability to do the task because they've done it 1,000+ times and it's always been well done. And, like you trust them, they've been with you a long time. Yeah, I get that. But if in that case, if there's nothing about that person that makes you uncomfortable because you trust them so implicitly, then please extend that person because they're probably would.
Yeah.
Sorry. You're going to have to edit that word.
Yeah. Phil gets excited sometimes. He drops a little F-bomb here and there.
Yeah.
This is important, though, because, you have too much control if you're never feeling uncomfortable. That's a barometer of control sort of test thing, if you like.
Totally.
And it might be you see an invoice come up with a P&L for some equipment that was purchased or a training course or something. You're like, what the heck was that for? What was that $1,287 for? Like, and you're like, that little grumpy feeling on the inside. And if you've got a larger team, you know what I mean. If you've got a smaller team and you know everything, you'll experience this when you get a larger team. Let me tell you. And you go and talk to your admin office person or whatever and like, oh, this was that. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you go and talk to Phil and you say, what was this about? And he's like, da da da. You're like, oh, sweet, cool, bro. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So that's important. Or maybe it's approving a variation or making a call on a project.
Point where the person who reports to figurative Phil has done that to figurative Phil, and then Tony comes in and says, hey, what was this money? And Phil says, get out of my office, man.
Yes. Which leads on to secret number 5.
Let's go.
Follow the chain of command.
Oh, that's a goodie.
This is incredibly important.
So important.
Once you have, managers and then managers of managers, or even if you've got yourself and an operations manager and then you've got technicians, you must stick to the chain of command, or there's a principle called unity of command. Everyone has one boss.
That's it.
Only one boss. Now, if you think about it in your house, if you've got yourself and your partner, your kids come and ask you something and you say no, and then they go to your partner and they say yes, what happens?
A lot of problems.
Yeah, chaos.
Yeah. And not just problems with the kids, but
problems with you.
Problems with the
right?
with the two leaders.
It's the same thing in a business.
Yeah.
If you see something that one of your tradespeople or technicians is doing as the boss, and you go to them and chew them out about it, or talk to them about it, or make suggestions or whatever, you have undermined your manager. You've cut their legs off.
That's
and
right.
You've damaged their credibility. You must follow the chain of command. So you go and talk to the manager about it, and then they go and talk to them about it. You coach the manager.
And up the other way as well. So if one of your technicians has something that they have a suggestion or something that they'd like to be different, or something they've observed, they shouldn't be coming straight to you if there's an ops manager in between. They should be going to their ops manager, who comes to you. And again, I just want to make the point that unity of command, everyone has one boss. Don't get this wrong. That doesn't mean it's you, all right? That doesn't mean everybody has one boss, which is the director.
Exactly. Good point.
It means they have their boss. So, for example, you might have technicians who report to tradesmen, who report to foremen, who report to an ops manager, who reports to you, something like that. Or maybe they report to a GM and they report to you, and you report to a board of directors. Who knows? The point is everybody has a boss and only one boss in their mind. And it might be different boss for different people, but everybody has one.
Yeah, one boss. That then you can keep the communication going.
That's
That's super important.
And never let that business chat. And again, like, personal communication can go all levels, and it really should, because that's what is the glue between a good culture.
It's about culture.
But business chat, whether it's accountability, whether it's performance chat, or whether it's suggestive chat about things we could improve, that should never jump a level. It only goes down or up one level.
Real simple. Follow the chain of command. Everyone's got one boss, and the communication flows through that.
That's it. Secret number 6.
Number 6. Your job as the leader is to grow your team.
That's it.
So, first, when the business is small, it's, directly, you're working directly with your tradies or your technicians and the people on the ground floor, people actually doing the work. But as you get bigger, your job is to actually grow your management team so they can lead effectively. To get to $1 million in revenue is really about the hard work that you put in. To get from 1 million to 10 million, 15, 20 million, that's about growing a management team that do that work for you. So your job as the business gets bigger as a leader is to focus more inwards on growing the teams, creating the environment, rather than outwards. That's the team's job, is to do the work. It's their job to, you might still be involved in getting some work and relationships, and that's fine, but you'll have other people doing that as well.
That's right.
And if you want to completely free yourself from the business in terms of having it run under management with a great profit, then your job is completely internal.
That's right.
So that's huge. And I think there's this term that I love. It's called out-team. Our role as a leader is to create a business that can out-team our competition. The team's so strong that we're always crushing the opposition. We're more productive. We give better value. Our quotes and bids come back quicker, and people just love using us. People want to work for us.
Yeah.
Out-team the competition.
Yeah, it's crucial. And I think there's always a bit of a fear here where it's like, as I grow, I want to out-team, my job is to grow the business. Yeah, and I've got to keep to, step number 5 as well, and not go below levels. And, I used to deal with all the people on the ground floor, and now I don't. I only deal with these 3 or 4 people, and isn't that terrible? I should go down to the ground floor and, make myself known. Please don't. Remember that the people on the ground floor, it's nice for them to talk to you from time to time, sure, but they don't really need it. They look up to their boss, and so your job at that point is to grow your team for a while, and then it's to grow your team of managers, and then it's to grow a smaller team of managers above them, but it's always to grow your team, and their job is to grow their team, and their job is to grow their team. So this actually is a principle that applies at every level of leadership.
Huge. And that every time you grow your direct reports, whether it's technicians, managers, or managers of managers, you elevate yourself to the next level of leadership, which is awesome. So key to success.
That's it. All right. Secret number 7.
Number 7. This is a toughie. Manage your emotions when dealing with frustrations or disappointments so you model great behavior to your team.
Ooh. Juicy.
So I'll give an example of where I didn't do this very well. Our Lyndon, who's in charge of is our sales chief, listening to a call. I listened to a call and I thought this isn't gone well. The team didn't do a great job. I went directly to him and said, "What's wrong with this? What's going on here?" Put him on the back foot. Terrible thing to do. Much better would be to say, "Hey, bro, love you to listen to this call and tell me what you think."
Do you know what would be much better?
What's that?
Stay out of my job.
Probably
honestly,
true.
Honestly, if you're listening to this, the actual better thing is Tony should have come into me and said, "Hey, bro, be good if you listen to this." And then I would listen to it and go to Lyndon and say, "Hey, mate, best you listen to this call and tell me what you think."
I'm feeling suitably told off and appropriately too.
Yeah, well, Tony going to Lyndon here is the wrong move. And I mean, the way you did it, definitely, and that's what we want to talk about. But also, just remember that also it wasn't your job to do
exactly. In fairness to myself, you were away for that week.
Yeah,
sorry. Anyway, good leaders don't make excuses like I just did, so don't make excuses. But the thing is, you've got to be very mindful in the difficult situations of how you actually present yourself and how you deal with it, because that models the behavior that your team will follow, and it tells your team what's acceptable and what's not.
That's right.
So here's another thing. As the leader, often you assume you know what's going on. You're like, "Oh, well, why don't they do this, that, and the other thing?" But you can't assume that when your business is bigger, because you do not have all the information. You do not know what actually happened.
That's it.
And so that's why you need to ask your team. If you're a manager, ask your team to explain what happened.
That's it.
And get their perspective. Let them explain. And there will be learnings there, because as a leader, you do know stuff and you can see stuff from a high level. You just know some stuff. That's your experience, and you should not ignore that. But you use that to help them understand stuff. So let them explain, and then you can help them figure out and give some suggestions in a really positive and proactive manner.
That's it. It's a constructive thing to do. It's like, I'm going to help you get to a better outcome. But the fact is like, they would have made a decision in a call at the time. And so if you shut that down and just tell them they were wrong, next time they just won't take initiative.
100%.
And they'll either do nothing or they'll call you incessantly with a question about every little thing. So you got to think about what behavior you're reinforcing with your emotional reaction.
That's right. And the behavior you exhibit as the leader has such a massive impact on the culture and the way everyone performs. If you have a bigger business, if you start chewing your ops manager out, then they'll start chewing their 4 people and their tradespeople out.
I love that story. Do we have time for a little Zig Ziglar line?
Let's go, Ziggy.
He talks about this factory, and he goes into this lady, and she's working on switchboard. She's been working on switchboard for years. Like connecting phone calls or something like that. And
back in the old days where you had to pull the plugs, you wouldn't know anything about that.
I wouldn't. But anyway, so she's been working on it for years. She's great at her job. And the boss has recently said he's going to butt out more and, give everybody a little bit more control. And, she gets something wrong, and the boss comes in and he tells her, "You bloody got this wrong, and you got this wrong, and then this wasn't any good," and basically rips her out a new one. And she goes, "Oh man, okay, yeah, sure, I won't do it again." But then, she was pretty mad. But if you think she was mad, you should have seen the person who reported to her, because she goes and she says, "You know what? I didn't make this mistake. You made this mistake, and now I've just worn it from the boss, and blah blah blah. And you've put me in such a bad position, and blah blah blah." And now the assistant to the switchboard operator, she's mad. But if you think she was mad, you should have seen the person who she ran into in traffic that day, cut her off in traffic, and she's shouting out the window, "Oh God, you cut me off in traffic, you terrible bastard. You shouldn't even be on the road. Wonder who gave you a license." So the person who's just been yelled at, they were mad. But if you think they were mad, you should have seen their kid when they got home. They're like, come in, they're like, "You know what? You haven't done your homework. You ripped your clothes at school, and like, I told you 1,000 times, put on your play clothes if you're going to be playing outside, and get your homework done before I get home from work. I work hard all day." But so the kid goes upstairs, and they were mad. But if you think they were mad, you should have seen their cat, because they come along and they give their cat a good old boot just to make up for the fact that they're mad. Now, wouldn't it have been a lot easier if the boss just came right down to that house and kicked the cat for him? Save everyone a little bit of trouble. And then Zig asks, who's been kicking your cat lately? And more important, whose cat have you been kicking? So I think keep that in mind when you're
good story.
When you're going with.
If you need a bit of inspiration, definitely listen to Zig Ziglar. He's dead just now,
Zig Ziglar.
but he's good.
He's a classic.
He is. In fact, my dad used to listen to Zig Ziglar back when he was selling insurance, like, many moons ago.
I think if you haven't listened to any of Zig's stuff, you do yourself a favor. You'll love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
get to number 8.
Number 8. This is a biggie, but probably not one you think about. And maybe if you're just starting out or your business is sort of still small and growing, you may not realize this yet, but this is a biggie for leaders. You got to get comfortable with doing less and not being so busy.
That's it.
As you free up time, you'll be doing less hands-on work. You'll be doing less jobs out in the field. You'll be doing less pricing, and you'll build up the chain of command, as it were. And you're going to feel weird. You're going to actually feel like, well, I'm not busy. What is people thinking of me? I feel guilty because I'm not working as hard.
Well, you get the old idle hands.
Idle hands make the devil's work.
That's right.
And so what you tend to do is you free up time, which you need to because you've got other things you need to learn. And the higher you are up in an organization, the more you need to think big picture and about what's happening and strategy and where you're going next, which takes time and space, mental space. You've got to be very careful because what most of us do, we can justify our existence by sticking our fingers back in places where they are not wanted.
Yeah, that's right. You tend to meddle. And I think the point is if you're down in the weeds, you finally get out of the weeds. You don't know what to do up here in the fresh air, so you dive back down in the weeds rather than taking a big breath of fresh air.
Yeah, and learning what you need to do next. This is really, really important. And we've done a podcast a few episodes ago, which was lots of great comments about it. It was about the time-based economy versus the value-based economy.
Yeah. And
what you tend to do as a owner, leader, manager who've come up through the ranks, you tend to base your value on the time-based economy. I'm busy, therefore I'm valuable. I'm 4 sheets to the wind getting stuff done. But you've got to switch it around to, hey, what's the value I contribute through the decisions I make and the actions that happen off my work? Now, you could work 20 hours a week and be more valuable than someone 40 hours a week, or even 10 hours a week if you make the key decisions and put the key leverage points in place and work with your management team to make sure they're cracking it. This is the whole point of being in business. You want to make time. So don't stuff it up by making yourself busy because you feel bad.
Well, we said earlier in Secret 6 that your job as a leader is to grow your team. Once you've grown that team, please let them do their job and you do yours.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole point, is that you'll become less busy with the stuff that your team now takes off you. It's now their job. It's not your job anymore. Let it be their job and figure out your new job and do that.
Yeah.
And you go back down in the
middle. You
middle.
can provide coaching and mentoring to your team.
That's it.
It's awesome.
Help them be great. All right. Those are the 8 secrets.
Yeah, this has been fun. We'll land this plane. So being a great leader is a crucial part of creating a profitable, fun-to-own business that actually gives you a killer lifestyle for you and your family. Remember these 8 secrets as you grow your business and you'll crush it. Thanks heaps for listening, team. We'll catch you all again next time on the Profitable Tradie Podcast. Hey, I hope you liked the video. Check out all the other videos in the channel and like and subscribe.